Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
All right, we are about to start. I'm just gonna remind us to mute mics when you're not speaking. Remind us also that we will be live on YouTube. Hence, we're asking the persons who are participating in the program to uncover their video when speaking so that the rest of the world who's viewing via YouTube will see who speaking to them, right? So I want to thank you for that. Let me say it's a privilege to be alive and to be able to have this weekly rap session. We're happy that God has spared our lives so that we can have this program. So at this time, I invite Sister Richie to give us the opening prayer. Sister Richie, you're on.
Where you touch this? And I'm muted. Hold on there. You must not come on here to make sure.
My most holy, righteous Father, as we are here now, dear Lord, to give you thanks, to give you praise, I ask you, dear sweet Heavenly Father, to bless us at this time. Father, as we are about to worship and to adore your matchless name, I ask you, dear sweet Heavenly Father, to guide and protect us, to put a bridle on our tongue, to know what we are saying, dear sweet Heavenly Father. I ask you, dear Father, to get in the midst. I ask you, dear God, that whatever we are saying or do may be honor and glory to you. Bless us at this time as we're about to begin. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Sister Richie. We will now be officially welcomed by Brother Cian Shaw.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Brother Shaw.
Yes, top of the evening to you, everyone. It has been indeed a rewarding day for most of us. We can attest that we have had some level of liquid sunshine across the western region. And in so much, God would have watered our soul one way or another. I just want to say welcome to you all and letting you know that God welcomes you in this place. It is said that people don't stop smiling because they get old. They really get old because they stop smiling. So I want for you this evening to smile a while and give your face a rest. And indeed, we want to thank God. I must say for persons who are viewing by Zoom, we want to welcome you. If you're viewing by YouTube, we want to welcome you. And even if after this program would have ended and you're joining by just YouTube again, we want to welcome you. Stay blessed and continue sharing and do what the Lord wants us to do. You have yourself a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much, Brother Shaw. I have never heard about liquid sunshine, but it's a good
But
experience. I'm glad that
I
the
say you
Lord
want
so that we can be blessed with showers of blessings. I'm going to invite us again to mute your mic. I'm seeing a lot of persons whose mic are open. When your mic is open, you pose a challenge for the person who are speaking. So I'm going to ask you once again to um, mute your mic. Invite Brother Garrett Bernard at this time to do something very special for us.
All right, good evening, everybody. It's a privilege to be here with all of us this evening. And we are privileged to have to speak to us, to lecture us, to instruct us, to guide us. One of our very own sisters, our friend, Sister Jeanne-Marie Dillon Barrett. Thousands of persons would have come through her hands. She would have employed a number of individuals in Western Jamaica, helping those individuals on their career path and have given them guidance over the years. Not only that, but she has helped a number of persons to master their skill in singing. And other than that, she would have guided a number of other individuals to other areas of career development. That is what qualifies her, among many other things, to guide us and to give us guidance this evening. She's a success story. And so as she comes to us, I ask you to give her your undivided attention and pray for her that as she gives us this rap session, this guidance this evening, we will be edified. And those who have not yet made the right career choices as Christians will do. I present to you Sister Jeanne-Marie Dillon Barrett, if there is no one to sing before she comes, Brother Alex.
There is someone to sing. Invite Sister Audrey Foster from the Westbound Church to give us the special music.
Thank you, Sister Audrey.
show me that I show me your way. I put my hope in you. The cry of my heart is to love you, to live with the touch of your hands, stronger. Show me your way. Show me your way, that I may walk. I want to walk with you, Jesus. Show me your way. I put my hope in you, Lord. The cry of my heart is to love you more, to live with the touch of your hand, stronger each day. Show your way, strong each day. Lord, show me your way.
All right, thank you so much, Brother Garrett, for those kind words of introduction. And thank you, Sister Audrey, um, for that beautiful song, Show Me Your Way. We definitely need the guidance in terms of choosing our career. All right, let me know if everybody's hearing me clearly, so I can adjust. Everybody's hearing clearly, or I need to go up a little bit
Sure.
more. We're good?
You can
Yes.
go somewhere, we can.
Okay. All right, so when Brother Sean asked me to prepare something relating to career, he mentioned young people, but I realized that this evening we have a very mixed group, which is fine, because I believe that whatever is applicable to the youth is applicable across the board. And there are persons who may be in jobs now that they don't believe is the right fit for them, or you may be looking at probably changing your career to doing something else. So I think the guiding principles that we will talk about this evening should make sense across the board. All right, so we're gonna spend a couple of minutes to talk about career choice. As you can see on the screen, we're looking at it from a Christian perspective, and we can even zone it in more to look at it from a Seventh-day Adventist Christian perspective. I'm sure that we can all attest that growing up, we've all had different dreams or aspirations. We all when we were younger, we all dreamed of what we wanted to be when we grew up. For some persons, they dreamt of being a teacher. You would dream of being a teacher, a doctor, a hairdresser, mechanic, a farmer, and the list goes on and on. And for many of us, we would have started out with one dream, but then that dream would somehow evolve over time. Like in primary school, you want to do one thing. By the time you get to high school, you change course. There are different things that pop into your head that you would want to do. And then when you move on from high school, something else pops in your mind, right? That's pretty much normal. For me, I remember when I was growing up, there was a point when I was going to primary school that I would use, I don't know how many persons can relate, but I would use whatever was on the dresser at home. And so I would have either Jergens or what was the lotion at that time, whatever it is, or whatever perfume. And I would pretend as if I was having a class. No, I'm sure that would have been influenced by my mother, because all I saw her doing was marking register and preparing lesson plan. So in my head at that time, I wanted to be a teacher. And so I would talk to the items on my dresser, or I would go outside and talk to the flowers as well. I'm sure persons can relate to that, right? And then when I got to high school, your interest changed, well, mine changed, and I wanted to be a doctor. Sure, Sister Nikki can relate. I wanted to be a doctor because I liked the idea of helping people, and I liked the whole science and medical field, and I wanted to be a pediatrician. That didn't work out the way that I wanted to. And lo and behold, I made a drastic change and shift to the business field, spending 19 years now in the BPO industry. Funny enough, that industry has been around for quite a long time, but for more reasons than one, it has become very prominent in today's society. All right, so we're going to look this evening, given that backdrop, we're going to look at how should Christians choose their career? What are the guiding principles that we should be looking at in order to effectively choose a career for ourselves, right? So I move on to my next slide, if it will allow me to. All right, here we go. Let me go back. So number one, it's never too early to start thinking about a career. The earlier you actually start thinking about it, the better it's going to be, especially for young people. Nothing is wrong with going through different phases of life and having different interests. but you have to know where you're gonna go. If you realize on the first slide, you had one, the man was at a juncture, right? To go in one, he could either go left or he could either go right. As young people and as older ones too, we must know where we're going. However, choosing a career or deciding on a job when you leave school is not necessarily an easy task. The truth is there are thousands of jobs out there to be considered. What is important to note here, though, is that a job is not necessarily a career, right? Oftentimes, a job is looked at as something short term. We go into a job for money or for other reasons, or to pass time or to transition to something greater. But when we talk about a career, we're talking about that long-term journey. We're talking about that journey, that path that you'll take or that you'll embark upon to fulfill some professional goals and ambitions. Now, with your career, there are some careers that will require a certain level of education or technical training or upskilling on or other vocational training. And there are some careers that may not. Whatever it is, when we talk about career, we're talking about that long-term journey that you will embark upon based on your passions. All right. So the next thing we have to think about is, why is a career important? As young people, why do I need a career? Number one, a career is a significant portion of your life, believe it or not. Somebody was asking something? No? Okay. When you look at your sleeping, yes, or your career or what you do on a daily basis, that pretty much takes up half of your life, whether you believe it or not. So if it is something that you hate or you're indifferent about, then half of your life you either hate it or you're indifferent about it, which is not good. I heard someone say not too long ago that you spend most of your time at work. So it must be something that you enjoy. It must be something that you find fulfilling. If you're going to spend a significant portion of your life doing it, it has to be something that you truly enjoy. Another reason or another importance of a career is that it can affect who you are at home or in other spaces. So linking it to the first, if you like your job or your career, then it can lead to other unhealthy habits that you'll pick up, right? It can affect your eating. There are persons who, not us as Christians, I'm hoping, but there are persons who will turn to
Ted,
alcohol.
don't do that.
I think somebody needs to mute.
No,
Can you
it's
mute
time to
for me?
stop playing now. Pat them up. Playing time over. Pat them up.
I'm not sure who is talking, but Pastor, I have to mute or you can mute. All right, I think that person was muted. If you dislike your career, it can also lead to depression. And we spoke about mental health a few weeks ago. Or simply you're just unhappy, you're angry. When what we do is unfulfilling, we need to cope somehow. And sometimes the coping mechanisms can be rather negative. We want to choose careers that align with who we are. We want to be positive about it. We want to be energetic about it. And we want to have fun with our career. That's important. And because it impacts our home and other spaces, our friends and family will be impacted by how we view our career. If you're a person that every day you come home and all you do is complain and mope, then what's going to happen to your family? Your family is going to be negatively impacted by it because you're going to be spilling over that level of energy to your family, which is not good. The third thing is a career is a part of your identity. Because we spend the most time being in our career, it's not something that we want to neglect. A career is how persons associate you. And most times when we have conversations with people, fortunately and unfortunately, persons want to know
Pull him
what
out.
is it?
You know, from when the son them go
What
in
is
the
it that
bathroom,
you do
just not
for a
pull him
living?
out. You know, damn ear.
Could you please mute your mics? Thank you. Having a career also provides some level of direction and purpose. When your career is or your job is fulfilling, you know that there are people who are counting on you. A place where you're needed, a place where what you do actually matters. So there's some purpose behind what you do. That's the importance of having a career. And last but not least, finding your passion is a moral obligation as Christians, as Seventh-day Adventists. It's not only crucial to you, yourself, but it also affects your family, your friends, your relationships, and your community. Whatever gifts that the Lord has given to you, it is our responsibility to share it with others. So it's a moral obligation to find what we're passionate about and channel our efforts in that direction. So that's the importance of having a career. Now, what are some of the factors that influence our career choices? Now, this part is a little tricky because this list may not be exhaustive, but there are many factors which could influence your choice of career. Some good and some not so good, right? School, your friends, your parents, family tradition, all of these things can influence your choice of career. There are some parents, unfortunately, that want their children to go into a particular career, but the child doesn't necessarily want to do that. The child has a different interest. There are some parents who would like to live out their dreams in their children. As parents, we have to allow our children, we have to guide them, that's a better word to use, so that they choose or select good careers, right? But not live out our hopes and aspirations. Skills and training can also influence our career choice, or personal preferences or interests, what educational requirements we may need to participate in a particular or go into a particular career, our cultural background as well, economic and social background, and our life goals. All of these and many more are factors or determinants of what we decide or choose from a career standpoint. All right, let's talk about a little bit about now from a biblical perspective, because the truth is, as Christians, we struggle at times with making career choices or decisions at various points in our life. Of course, we desire to live our lives in a way that is pleasing to God, and that includes what we choose as a career. In looking at the Bible does not provide explicit guidance about making career choices. In that, back in biblical time, career choice wasn't so much of an issue. The men, for the most part, men would go into either fishing, sheep herding, and I've listed a few, carpentry. For women were more domesticated in nature, traditional, right? Women would stay at home and they would be married and they would take care of the children. However, while the Bible does not provide explicit guidance, the Bible does teach some important principles that can help us to become or to make wise career decisions. And we're going to look at some of these principles this evening. Most Christians experience doubts and anxieties when faced with major decisions. However, if we put God first in our choices, then it will eliminate most, and I say most, anxiety-producing decisions before they actually become crises. The truth is, you will not be ready or able to find a career path God has designed for you unless we're seeking him first. Matthew 6 verse 33 reminds us that we should do what? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything else shall be added unto you. So as young people, our first mandate is to seek God first. He will provide the direction to us in guiding us as to what we need to do. One of the myths that I want to dispel for us as Christians is being successful or having a successful career. There's nothing wrong with a successful career. In fact, as I have put it in the slide, God promises great blessings for his people. We're reminded in Proverbs 9, verse 10, what? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. In Proverbs 22, verse 4, it says, by humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. So what that means, the reward of life, the reward of humility, and the fear of the Lord are riches, honor, and life. So he promises to bless us, but we have to seek him first in whatever we do. Now, what is important for us in determining or making that choice is to ask the question, is the decision that we're making, this particular career, is it made by worldly standards? What is our purpose of selecting this particular career? Is it security that we're looking for? Is it worldwide fame, ego? Is it income? Income is important because we live by income. But do we make choices only on the basis of how much we can actually earn? Let me go back. I think I skipped something. All right. No worries. All right. Let's look at some of the guiding principles then. Yes? Career choice. There are about 5 principles that I've highlighted this evening. We're going to look at them one by one, and then I'm sure there may be some questions after. The first principle, which we hinted at just now, is developing that intimate relationship with God. Being rooted in Christ is fundamental. It's a fundamental prerequisite to finding out God's purpose for or career. I apologize. Let me just minimize this. Okay, right. So we have to be rooted in Christ. How do we do that? Of course, we study his scriptures. We pray for wisdom. We fast as well about the decisions that we have to make. And we develop our faith. It's not every time that we ask for something that we're going to get it immediately. Sometimes we have to wait. Sometimes the waiting takes years. Sometimes it takes months. Sometimes it takes days. We have to develop our faith that if this is the path that God wants me to go along on, then he will direct me to that path. So we have to learn to trust and wait. We have to be aware of some of the warning signs that our career may not be the very best for us, may not be the career that will lead us to Christ. Now, some of these questions that we should ask ourselves are, will this job require me to act in an unethical way? If you're in a job or the job that you're going into, because we can know sometimes from the outset, based on the interview that we would have done, or based on our research of that particular career or job, that we will know that if it's going to conflict or allow me to act in an unethical way, that is not the job for a Seventh-day Adventist Christian to participate in. Will this job require me to seduce, me to spend a lot of time at work, too much time at work sometimes, where you have little time for anything else? Will you be neglecting your family, your friends, your quiet time with the Lord? Will it cause you to give up some of your responsibilities at church because you simply cannot manage? If it is that the job is going to pull you away from these trusted relationships, from doing God's work, it is something to consider. Is this the right job for me? And my answer would be no, right? Does this job tempt you or career tempt you to become prideful, greedy, manipulative? These are not Christ-like characters. Then this particular career or job will not be for you. Is your work leading you away from God instead of leading you to become more Christ-like? These are the questions that we should be asking ourselves. And if the answers are yes, then this is not the career for you. So that's principle 1. Principle 2, God has created all of us with skills and interests. All of us were born with some innate talent and skills. You know, I've quoted Psalm 139 that says that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. God has given us so many gifts and talents, and he wants us to use those gifts and talents. But to make a good career choice, you have to know yourself. You have to have a thorough knowledge of your personality, your skills, your abilities, your interests, your values, so you know how to use them. If you don't know who you are, if you don't know your own knowledge, your skills, if you're not fully, it means that you're not fully equipped to make good career choices. So you have to tap into that innate skill. You have to tap, there are some skills that are innate, of course, and there are some skills that you acquire over time through socialization. Whatever those skills are, use them. Use them in your career and use them to glorify God. Romans 12, verse 6 to 8 tells us that we all have different gifts. Some prophesying, which we know, serving others, teaching, encouraging, giving, leading, showing mercy. All gifts are important, and it's critical as Assembly Adventist Christians that we use whatever gifts that we have in our world of work as well as in our church to glorify God. All right, the third principle that would guide our career decision choice is we have to become wise decision makers. We have to use our God-given mind to learn how to make good career decisions. James 1 verse 5 tells us that if any of us lacks wisdom, we should ask of God, right? Wise decision makers are more likely to be successful. If we go into something that we didn't truly think about, then more than likely it's not going to turn out how we want it to be. So we have to make some good decisions. Now the question is, how do we do that? So there's a career decision making process, right? You define the problem, just like any other decision making progress, but we are now associated with career, right? So we define the problem. The problem is, which occupation should I choose? The next step, or step 2, is we need to research. We need to gather information, identify our interests and our aptitude to actually manage that particular career. Then once we have gathered that information, we need to evaluate that information. Evaluating means I'm going to look at the pros and cons of each possible choice. If I do X, or here I have this particular choice I need to make, what are all the benefits associated with making this particular career choice? What are the negatives associated with making this particular career choice? It's clear that if your cons or your negatives outweigh your benefits or your pros, then that is not the career choice for you. You're looking for benefits outweighing your challenges or your costs, right? Then after you would have done that evaluation, we now need to make that choice. Based on our work values, based on our career goals, based on our lifelong goals, where we see ourselves, we now need to make that choice and we need to take action. So there are some persons that they know what they want to do, but they don't know how to do it or what steps they need to take to do it. If you're not sure, research. I mean, I was talking to Nikki earlier this week and I was saying, man, Google. The young people now have so much more than what we had when we were growing up. We had to go to the library for everything, right? Now, Google is at your fingertips. Not only Google, but you have mentors in church or you have your parents as well that you can find out, okay, I need to do nursing. What are the steps? How do I enroll? What do I need to do? I need to go into the business field. I need to become my own boss. I need to be an entrepreneur. What are some of the skills or what are some of the actions that I need to take to actually acquire or to get into that particular field? So knowledge is power, and the World Wide Web is there to help us. So research, 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 find out more, and then you go after it. That's the most important thing too. After you would have found it out, then you have to. One of the challenges that we find as young people is that sometimes you think that you can't afford to do it. You want to do a degree as an example. And when you look at the cost of actually getting that done, it looks like an obstacle. And for many it is, but there are so many resources out there today that you can either get loans for it, you can get grants for different programs. And the truth is you can save. I remember when I was doing my programs, not the first, but the second one, I literally had to save at COK every pay. So the little, I mean, Sian last week, Sian did savings. You would be surprised how the little that you save over time will allow you to accomplish much. But you have to take the step and you have to actually start. All right. Another important guiding principle for making a good career choice is taking risk. Some of us are risk averse. And for me, for many years, I would do stuff, but I wouldn't take that big risk. We need to exercise our faith, and God doesn't call us to a risk-free living. We need to develop what we call our faith muscles, right? He's there to guide, he's there to protect us, he's there to cushion whatever it is, right? Learning to take risks is an essential part of following God and living out his will for our lives. Philippians 4:6-7 tells us not to be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, we should make our request to God. And one of the things that I'm reminded about daily that I use for myself is that great things never come from being in your comfort zone. Sometimes you have to step out. For me, as an example, I worked with one particular company for 18 years. That was my career with Conduent. And then last year, October, I just decided to take a risk, go to a different company, start with that company and help them to grow and develop. A lot of persons would have probably looked at it as a strange thing to do, but I believe I prayed about it. I was earnest about it. I spoke to some close friends that I had about it and my family members, and I truly prayed about it. I said, you know what? I believe God is calling me to take that step. And I took it with faith, and I haven't regretted it since. I hope I don't, but I haven't regretted it. So we have to sometimes come out of our comfort zones if it is that we truly want to accomplish in life what we desire for, right? Step out of the box. Sometimes as Christians, we kind of get comfortable just doing the routine, that we don't look at what's ahead of us. And sometimes God is asking us to exercise that faith and step out of our comfort zones. All right, last but not least, from a guiding principle standpoint, be impactful. Whatever career that you're going to choose as a young person, or if you're contemplating changing careers, think about whether or not this career will help to change people's lives. How impactful will you be with other persons? Will people come to know God through you? You will be interacting with people on a daily basis. Will they see Christ through you? Will people be drawn to Christ by the service that you provide? I believe that it doesn't matter what career field that you're in, you can impact lives, right? If you're teaching, you know, you mold lives. Whatever it is, there's some level of impact that's there. If you're a mechanic, how you interact with people, yes? People will look at you differently and say, oh, this person is a Christian, just by how the person interacts, treats the person with respect, conducts the business in a professional manner and interaction. We are reminded in Matthew that we are the salt of the earth. We are also reminded that we are the light of the world. And we're also asked to let our light so shine before men that they may see our good works and glorify our Father which is in heaven. So we need to be impactful. Whatever career that you decide to go on or to take up, you must be impactful. Now, what I wanted to do to kind of conclude is to share with our young people some of employers. So I'm an employer, as an example, some of the expectations that we have. What I find at times is that if the young persons may not necessarily be ready for the working world, and for me, the expectation is that you're not going to be 100% ready. You're new, right? All of us were at that point in time. Excuse me. However, there are some core expectations that I believe that can be developed even before you get to the working stage. It's developed through your family, it's developed through your schooling, and it's also developed through your church, right? So some of these I call them employer expectations. Employers expect persons to come to the table with, one second, let me go back. Strong work ethics, the discipline, the stick-to-itiveness, and I put that in quotation, the hard work, the drive to be successful. How do we cultivate that without working, quote unquote? For young people, being disciplined at home with your chores, yes? You're given certain tasks by your parents, your caregivers. Getting those done within the required time is critical. Being disciplined with your schoolwork. These are things that provide that ground, that will help to foster the right type of attitude that you need when you come into the working world. So your schoolwork, turning it on time. For church, developing your leadership responsibilities. I always say to young people, do not shy away from challenges or tasks or from leadership roles in church. Embrace these roles. These are some of the things that will refine and prepare you for the world of work. Employers are also looking for young people who are dependable, not only young, but old too, dependable. They're also responsible. That means you can be counted on. If you say you're going to do something, then you get it done. If you say you're going to come to work on time, yes, you get it done. You actually, hold up your end of the bargain. Positive attitude, it's important. You have to have that right attitude. I always use this every day at work. Your attitude determines your altitude. You have to be different. It's kind of hard because young people are, everybody gets pressured. That peer influence is there, but you be the one to pressure persons in the right way. So you have to have that positive attitude. Sometimes we get kind of caught up with the negativity around us, but surround yourselves with positive people. When you surround yourselves with positive people, then you will think positively. But if you surround yourself with persons who are negative, then the reverse will be true. We're looking for persons who are adaptable. And adaptable doesn't mean that you're compromising what you believe in, but you're flexible or open for challenges, right? And for improvements. How you're able to adapt to your work habits and interacting with other persons. We're looking for people who are adaptable. Self-motivated, of course. Different levels of motivation, some intrinsically, some persons are extrinsically motivated, but we want people who really want to work. I believe that you can learn from any experience. It may not be the career, it may not be the job that you had wanted initially, right? But it is something that you can learn from and take it to. your next phase of life. What is your motivation? You know, employers are looking for persons who are self-motivated. Do you depend, on others to be motivated? We want our youth, and especially Seventh-day Adventist youths, to culture a spirit of excellence when you are pursuing your goals. You are motivated to grow and you're motivated to learn. You exude that level of self-confidence that you're aware of what you want, you know where you are going, and you know that God is going to take you there. Professionalism is critical. How you carry yourself, how you dress, how you speak, how you interact with others. That's also critical in any line of work that you go into. And loyalty. Loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. Employers want to know that you are in it with them and that it's not a company against the employee. You are the company. You are the face of whatever company that you work for. And how you behave, how you interact, that tells a lot about the company. Yes? So how do you get there, right? How do you get involved? Number one, participate in church. Church, like school, is going to make you more rounded. So not only school, a lot of our young people are very active in school, but when it comes on to church, we shy away from that. Church is your ground for learning, right? Participate in clubs and societies. Surround yourself with positive persons. Be impactful in your community. Be involved in your community. Select a mentor that you believe will provide you that guide and direction that you need to be successful. And last but not least, be balanced. So with everything that you do, there must be a balance. And God has promised us that if we seek him first in everything that we do, then he will grant us the desires of our heart. And I think that's where I end tonight, Brother Allen.
Thank you very much, Sister Dillon, Barrett, for that timely presentation. You said a whole lot, and I'm sure there are some questions this time. So we're going to ask those who have questions to raise your hands, and we will take them accordingly. So any questions for Sister Barrett?
I think I gave too much.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I've raised my hand, but I haven't gotten a response
There's a hand in the
from
chat.
the person
Let's see who it is.
Yes, I raised my hand. This is Sister Everett. Mrs.
Okay.
Barrett, I'd like to ask
You're
you a
a bit
question.
low, Sister Everett.
Are you hearing me?
Can you speak up?
I'm hearing her.
I'm trying to. Yes. Okay. What is the how would you treat a person who is disloyal in an organization or in an institution? What is your say on that one? How would you treat that person?
All right. So
for disloyalty.
Disloyalty can be measured on different levels, but for me, Sister Lydia, I would want to have the conversation with the person to find out what are the factors that would be causing that person to be disloyal. What I found out over the years, being in my field as an example, persons are unhappy or may become unhappy in their jobs for a number of reasons. And unless you as the employer, if you don't take that necessary step to sit with the employee, find out what's happening. Sometimes it could be an issue where they're upset with the company itself. It could be that there are other personal issues going in their life. There are other factors or things playing out in their life that will cause them to react or to behave in a certain way, right? So we would have that conversation, determine, what would cause or what's fueling that level of being disloyal. And then we would determine if we would get to a stage, I think, where we would determine if this is the right job or the fit for you. Because it doesn't make any sense if you're in a job and you're not happy about it. But the first thing is to find out from the
Okay,
employee,
thank you.
okay, what the issues are, and see how best you can address those. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thanks for that answer. But I'm saying that, you know, we would deal with it. Being Christian, we would deal with it differently from, say, an organization who is not Christ-led. Because in administration, the only cure for disloyalty is dismissal. That's the only cure.
And I would
Because if you have
disagree.
a disloyal party,
Right. All right. So let's back up a
no,
little
I'm
bit.
just telling you that Christ, yes.
Let me
What
back
I'm
up.
just saying, what I'm saying to
All right,
you
go ahead
is,
first.
okay, go ahead.
Before you get to any stage of dismissal, Sister Lydia, you have to first determine what are the factors that would cause somebody to be disloyal. The reality that we face is that we don't have a lot of organizations where there are Seventh-day Adventist CEOs, right? Unless you're working for a Seventh-day Adventist institution. So if it is that you're a Seventh-day Adventist Christian, being in an executive position in an organization, then the expectation is that you are going to approach how you deal with any situation differently, right? What would Christ do? It doesn't mean that after you would have had the discussion that the person wouldn't have been dismissed, because there are situations that will lead to dismissal. However, the point I was making is you still have to have that conversation and have that dialogue with the employee to find out what are some of the factors, what's going on in their life that would cause that level of disloyalty. Most times I've seen cases where after you would have had the conversation and you're open and the person realizes that, hey, you know, I can really confide in this person. I'm going through X, Y, Z, and that's why I'm lashing out. This is why I'm doing that. That person will change their perspective on certain things. And you can change a disloyal person to an actual loyal person just by how you treat that person.
Yes, well, that's dealing with it the Christ-like way, the Christian way. But
Right.
if for instance, you are in an organization that is led by someone who is not a Christian,
Right.
it would be dealt with a different way, you know,
Yes.
in that maybe they wouldn't even call that person for questioning. They would just automatically dismiss that person. And
Well,
we know that that is not really the right way, because everyone has
so right, but we have to be careful with that, Sister Lydia,
everyone
because
should be given a chance.
right, the
Sorry?
Jamaican labor laws that we have, though, you cannot just dismiss people like that anymore, right? You have to go through a process of dismissal, which involves having hearings, stating the facts before the person. The employee also has the opportunity to take a representative, which can be a lawyer as well. So gone are the days really where persons just dismiss. Um, there's a process that has to be followed. But I take your point that non-Christian led organizations at times may deal with things differently. But as Christians, wherever we are, especially if we are in leadership positions, we are expected to handle situations the way Christ would. It doesn't mean that the end result may not be termination, but it is how the process is dealt with. It has to be fair, and you deal with it fairly and justice for the employee.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Sister Barrett. There's a question in the chat, Sister Barrett. What if you
don't think you have a
don't
passion?
have, or think you have a passion?
Wow, Jeanne-Marie. I think this is my opinion. I think God has given us all passions. There are things that we like to do more than other things. It could be, though, that our passions are not watered or cultured or really allowed to display itself. But I think all of us have been, I could be wrong, but I think all of us have been given passions. There must be something that you enjoy doing, and that will determine where you go. It doesn't mean that you're going to choose that specific career, but it can be avenues or avenues of that where you will feel fulfilled doing it. So I think everybody has a passion. I don't know if anybody thinks otherwise, but I think everybody has a passion. We just need to pray earnestly about it and ask God to reveal to us our desires and what it is that we truly want to accomplish.
Thank you, Sister Barrett. Question, Sister. Should I choose a career that might compromise my relationship with God?
No. So I'm going to give you that straight out answer. No. As I mentioned in the presentation, if where you're heading is gonna lead you to compromise your Christian principles, then no. So I'll give you an example of myself. So I'm in the BPO industry, business process outsourcing industry. When I left UE in 2001, I never dreamt of going into this industry, to be honest. I always tell persons that this was never my dream, if that makes sense. When I was going to university, I wanted to work at the Development Bank of Jamaica. That was where I thought I wanted to be. But God obviously had a different plan. And I started at the BPO industry out of university as an agent. Now, a lot of persons would not have taken that because, oh, you have a degree, as an example, yeah? I started as an agent. I started taking taking calls like everybody else. And I think God allowed me to go through that experience to build me. You have to start from somewhere. Not everybody will launch into that multi-million-dollar career and get this big promotion. The mindset that young people have to have the mindset that, hey, the reality is sometimes I will have to start from somewhere, but I'm going to use all the lessons that I would have experienced. And I'm going to use that to channel where I want to go. So compromise. I was very clear when I started working in the BPO industry that I did not work on Sabbath. In all my years of working, I've never been asked to work on a Sabbath because I made that absolutely clear from day one that you can get me do everything else on any other day. But when you come on to sunset Friday, sunset Sabbath, Saturday evening, I would not be available. I think I shared a testimony at church that a couple months back that when I moved to my new job, my new boss, well, he's no longer there, but he shared with me that when I onboarded for this new company, the issue of my Sabbath came into question. And the manager at the time was very weary about taking me over because, of course, I would not be available on the Sabbath. But God has an interesting way of working things out because my boss is a Jehovah's Witness, and his parents, which is kind of weird, but his parents are Seventh-day Adventist. So he understood that I needed my Sabbath, and when I got my offer letter did state that I would need to work every day, and I wasn't comfortable with it because I knew my stance, and I asked them to change the offer letter to reflect times that I would not be available to work. And fortunately for me, because I stuck to my principles, the company changed my offer letter, making it very clearly that I would not be able to work on Saturday. There are going to be opportunities are going to come up as well for you where persons are going to say, hey, you know, I have this big job for you, but it demands that you work on a Saturday. Are you able to do it? As Christians, we have to stick to what we believe in. We have to stick to our principles, knowing that God will make a way for us through any particular situation. And persons will respect you for the principles that you would have laid down. So I would say, do not compromise on what you believe, hold firm, declare in the interview. Unfortunately, brethren, I have interviewed Seventh-day Adventist Christians. I'm very disappointed for that. And I ask them the difficult questions of what if you have to work on a Saturday? It sounds kind of cheeky to ask it as a Seventh-day Adventist, but I want to know how you're going to respond to it. And to be honest, I have seen a few Seventh-day Adventists who look at me as a Seventh-day Adventist and tell me that they can work on Sabbath. And I look at them like, are you crazy? You can't compromise. You're in an interview. You have to be truthful. You have to be honest. People will respect you for the hard work that you do and the respect that you show. So stick to your principles and do not compromise.
Thank you very much. There's a question coming from Pastor. So Pastor will take your question.
Oh, Lord. What Pastor says.
Sister Jeanne.
Yes, Pastor.
I want to thank you very much for the presentation. Lovely presentation, informative presentation. All right, there's one question I want to ask you. What if, as a young person, I'm in a job, I'm experiencing, well, I don't have any job satisfaction, I have no motivation to go to work, and I am just not enjoying that particular work. What would be your advice to me?
My advice to you would be, what is it that you want to do? What I've found over the years is that persons get disinterested because they've gotten bored or they feel that they have not been challenged. It's not like they don't like what they're doing, but they think that there's more that they can offer. There's nothing wrong with a young person saying to their employer, you know, I think I could do this or that, if it is within that same organization. If it is that you think you're transitioning to something different, then that's fine. You continue to build the skills that you need from every job can teach you something. But if it is that, that you think you want to head in a different direction, then take that risk and go after it. But if it is that you're in a particular job, you don't hate the job, but you have gotten disinterested, you come work late. Most times there are a lot of factors that will cause that, Pastor, but the underlying factor is that you're losing interest because you don't feel as if you're being challenged. Sometimes as employers, we don't